So once we get a motor that's we're continuous, then we got to cycle that as well. So you had that right? Train, right?
Yeah, because it should allow you to just, you can just talk.
When the weather comes up for us.
There's the chat if they're on right
We'll
now.
see because
I'm just wondering if, I just don't hear anything. I'm just wondering if it's going to, oh, it's going to go.
Can you hear me?
Thursday night. And then,
So I wanted the sound to come over the TV here.
yeah, I'm having a problem with that over my monitors. You can probably help me with that.
I don't think those monitors have speakers. So I ordered speakers for your new thing. And that's all that stuff's supposed to be here today.
Oh, really?
So
that's fast. Chuck doesn't waste any time.
No, I've just done directly on my laptop and it worked just fine, so I don't know if this is going to cause a problem. Airplane.
Chuck.
No, it should. I mean, it's got AirPlay.
Yeah, it should be okay.
Built in now.
Are they on the other end here?
Yes. Can you hear us? We've got a lot of sound to your side.
You know, somebody's talking and they're not hearing us. Let's do the telephone. Or I'm not hearing them. You can see it says, see, I'm talking. But Rebecca was talking just a minute ago and it didn't work.
What's the phone?
Are they dialing in?
Yes, Chuck's going to try to dial in.
Okay. Sounds like he's got the crowd with him.
Mm-hmm.
Don't touch, buddy. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Is the background noise bad?
Can't hear any at all.
Okay, good. Okay, that sounded like shoved up to my ear. Don't mess with it. Hello?
Oh.
Hi there.
Hey, Chuck, how's it going? Jason.
Hey, Jason. Good. How you doing today?
Great. Listen, I apologize if you can hear anything in the background. When I shuffle things around for you, I had to be at the airport. So anyway, I'm at the airport. So if there's any hear any noise, that's my excuse. But listen, we appreciate it. We heard you talking earlier. It sounded like you had some other folks with you.
Yeah, no, we were trying to do it over the my MacBook here, but the audio wasn't coming over our conference room TV, so we just did the dial-in. So that's what was going on. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Did we lose
I don't know. Yeah, that's what I was about to ask. I don't know if we've lost him. But Jason told me that you're currently looking for a new application, and usually he has us have the person who's looking for a new application just briefly tell us why they're looking and what exactly they're looking for.
Well, I'll tell you what, Becky, I apologize. I hit mute with my ear. So anyway, so what I was kind of saying was that we tend to make these as conversational as possible. So what I'm going to do is in turning it over to Rebecca, she'll kind of run through everything for you. But we really encourage you to sort of kind of lead the way on this. We're going to kind of do some basics on the front end and show you some, basically the nuts and bolts of the system. But as we start to dive in and you want to dig a little deeper, it's really up to you. If you guys, talk to us, question us, challenge us, the whole works, and we'll just sort of accommodate you as we go. Okay?
Okay, sounds good.
Fair enough?
Jason,
I just wanted to let you know right now I've got Drew Mayer, who's our marketing manager, and Doug Turner, who's our production manager, and then our sales manager, Tom Curran. So the four of us are sitting
Great to meet you, gentlemen. We appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right. Well, good.
So,
Well,
yeah.
I'm gonna turn it over to you, Becca, and I'll pop in and out here. But if I'm at the airport, I'm gonna mute you because I don't want to cause any distractions. So anyway, I'm here, and we appreciate the opportunity to talk. Rebecca,
Jason.
over to you.
So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run through a PowerPoint real quick so you can see the flow, and then I'll go into the actual application for you. Now, it is a full ERP application, but you are able to pick and choose what modules you want. So if it's not something relevant to you, let me know, and I'll skip through it so you don't have to waste your time listening to that section. Now, we do also sell it as an a la carte, an on-premise or a cloud version. I'm sure that Jason has already explained that to you, though. So the first module I'm going to go into is Customer Relationship Management. That's our CRM. And that's going to take care of all your calling lists. You'll be able to directly make your leads. You'll be able to make activities against those leads. You'll then be able to convert those over to your accounts. You can also make quotes in the CRM or on the sales side, and they'll be linked together. So we'll go into a bit deeper detail soon. So your calling list can be created. They can be directly assigned to your sales employees, so you'll be able to manage how many sales calls are being made each day, how many's been made each week, what the results of those calls was. You can also make your leads, and those leads can directly have those accounts or those opportunities and those activities directly mapped into them. So this is just a quick look into an opportunity. It's going to let you see what stage it's in, who's in charge of that stage, if you have an estimated closing for it, when that is, and an estimated potential amount for it. You'll also have your accounts. Your accounts is going to keep track of a lot of basic information for you. You'll be able to map in all your billing and shipping addresses for them. If you've got multiple, they can keep track of that. If you've got multiple salespeople working on it, you can have your main sales account manager, and then you can have your sales group also managed and attached to that. You can also see some of the history of what sales you've made with them in the past or any open orders. You'll also have your contact. So the contact page is going to pull all your information out of your leads and your accounts. That way you can just view that information by a quick search in the contact page. So you're not going to need to know if you get a call from John Smith, which account or which lead he's associated to. You can just type in his name, and then you'll be able to pull up that information automatically. You also have the ability to manage cases and any service requests you may have. And then these can be directly assigned to your employees, and then you'll be able to track what was the cause of them, how they were resolved, and customer satisfaction. We have full forecasting and territory management. You can set up your forecast and do it where you define all your criteria, or you can predefine a template for that. So if you're running the same forecast every single month or every 6 months, you can just choose from that template, and then you'll not have to go in and redefine all those criteria. We have several ways that we can do territory management. We've had people do it by location. We've had people do it by item group. We've had people do it by item. So there's a lot of different ways you can do that in there too. We also have a mass mailing system included in with it, so you'll be able to send out any promotional emails, even newsletters if you have those. And then you'll have your Salesforce site. So this is where you're going to go ahead and assign those territories, but you can also go ahead and set up those sales groups if you have multiple people working on that lead. For example, you have one outside salesperson who creates your accounts and your leads, and then 3 or 4 inside salespeople who work with them to manage that one. It is a fully configurable system. So what I'm showing you today is just some basic configuration. This is not the end-all configuration. We can edit it to be done in several different ways for a lot of the workflows that are in the system. You also have the ability to have alerts in every single module. These alerts can be alerts by exception. These, for example, a new sales order is created, inventory has fallen below a certain amount, and then that can also be sent to you in multiple ways. So what I'm showing on my screen is a pop-up in the system, but you can also have that emailed to you. You can have it sent through text message. So you have a lot of ability there too. We have a full document map through the system, so if you create a sales order, you can then see what production order goes with it, what invoice goes with it. It'll tell you who created it, when it was created. And by clicking on the detail button, you'll actually be able to open that exact record. We also have full batch and lot traceability through the system, same thing with serial numbers. So you'll be able to view what number that raw material that you brought in was, and then you'll be able to view the successive ones that come from it whenever you're doing your production. So you'll still have that original one mapped to it, so you'll know where it's coming from, but then you'll have its new one whenever it's a semi-finished product, and then another one whenever it's a finished product. And then you'll be able to map that either from the batch number in the beginning that you brought in from your manufacturer, or from your finished product number that you sent out on your sales order and that you went ahead and invoiced against. Every module is going to have a set of standard reports, but you'll also have access to our query designer. And this is our drag and drop interface for building your own reports. As you can see, there is a SQL query, but that's going to be auto-generated based on what fields or what tables that you're dragging over here into this section. So I'm going to go into inventory management real quick. So inventory is going to have your item master. This is going to keep track of some of your basic details about the item. If you've got a barcode for that item, it'll keep track of that. What's your base price for this item? Is it an item you're selling, or is it something you're manufacturing? So is it a raw material, or is it a finished product? You can also keep track of what issue method it is. Are you issuing it through a manual process, or are you doing that through a backflush method? But you also have your serial number and batch number section here. So whatever you have mapped to in this section, it's going to then allow you, whenever you're doing your item receipt or your goods receipt, to actually create that number or take it directly from what the manufacturer gave you. And then when you're doing your item issue, it'll give you that list of created numbers to choose from for your issuing. Or if you've mapped a inventory evaluation method like FIFO or LIFO, it'll go ahead and automatically pull from that method. You'll also have access to your vendor master. This will keep track of your basic details about your vendor, who's your contact person, how they want to be paid, if there's any payment terms you have with them or any other terms, Incoterms you may have with them. It'll manage those. But it'll also keep track of the vendor catalog with them, which will be what they're calling the item. That way when you're making your purchase orders, you can just choose it based on what you're calling the item, and then whenever it's going to the vendor will know what they're calling it. So it'll do that mapping for you. Full financials is included with the application, and financials is going to be interconnected with the system if you're taking the full system. So we'll do the basic setup of setting up your general ledger, your drawers, your chart of accounts. All of that will be taken care of. We'll do some basic mapping in of how you want your journal entries to be done. We have the ability to do either manual journal entry or automatic. Default is automatic. And then from there, it's going to automatically do a posting against your invoicing when you make a payment or you receive a payment. It's also going to automatically do your journal entries there. That way you always have a balanced and up-to-date chart of accounts and general ledger. You can directly make and receive those payments through the system. It will give you a status on it, so if they only did a partial payment, you'll be able to see that it's a partial payment. It will not go ahead and close that until you've received the full payment. And if, for example, somebody overpays you, then it'll also give you a message there. So you'll know if you didn't get the correct amount there. You can also send payments through the system. You can do checks also that can be printed out of the system if that's their preferred payment method. You can also do multiple vendor payments at a time and multiple invoices at a time. And then over on the sales side, you can do your quotes either on the sales or on the order side. So you have a little flexibility there on how you want it done, whether you're having your main sales people do it or if you're having your customer management people manage that instead. Now, as you can see here, the way our documentation flows is you make the first document, and then you can directly convert that over to the next document in the flow. That way it's cutting down on your amount of time that's needed for re-entering data. So this is a quick look inside our sales order. As you can see here, there is a barcode associated with it, so you'll be able to directly scan that, and that's a functionality with all of our documents. So if somebody's doing pick and pack, they can scan that, and it'll automatically pop it open for them. Same thing with the sales orders, the invoice, even the purchase orders. We do have a EDI functionality in this system. We have over 300 different EDI templates. Now, if you are doing it through EDI, it's the difference between a regular sales order and an EDI sales order from the point of the user is really just going to be the source. In the back end, it'll look different, and what it's sending out will look different, but whenever the user is actually looking at it, the only real difference is going to be that the source will say EDI. You'll be able to view all of your items that you're selling them. It'll give you information on what you currently have available on that. If this customer has a default warehouse map to them, that's going to be the first place it's going to pull that inventory for. It's going to check and see if there's any inventory of that item in that warehouse. If not, it'll give you options to go ahead and choose a different warehouse for it. Now, from inside the sales order, you can also do your document tracing, but you can also, other than that, look for your serial number and batch numbers in there too. So you'll be able to see where the serial numbers and batch numbers that are coming with this order are actually coming from and where they're going to. So for example, if you've made a delivery for this one, in this case, this one's a fully completed order and it's a closed order. So you can see that we took batch FG101 from our inventory after we created it from batch RM501, 301, and 401. Now, sales orders are directly linked to inventory, so you have the ability to directly commit that inventory for that item to that sales order, so none of your other sales members will try to use that exact same stock. As you can see here, you do have the ability to view what status you have for your stock. So you've got your total stock, which is what's currently sitting in the warehouse. Your committed is what you've put either towards a production order, if it's a raw material, or a sales order, if it's a completed item. Ordered is how much you have that you've requested from your vendor, but it has not arrived yet. And available is how much you still have in stock that has not already been committed to an order. Now, the CRM, as I mentioned on the sales order, is connected. So if you've defined some of the details in the CRM for your account, for your customer, it's going to automatically pull over to sales order. So if you got a contact person there, it's going to pull that. If you got any payment terms with them, any Incoterms, preferred payment methods, all of that's going to pull too. Do you currently do any sales through your website?
We don't now, but we're going to.
Okay, we do have a full customer portal. I don't know if I can figure that for today, so I didn't know if that was an option. So what it's going to do is it's going to pull your information from your item master. So it's going to take all your images. You have the ability to directly upload images in the item master. It'll take your pricing information from there. And it can also put your availability in there so you can check and see if it's actually available when your customer is making an order. And then they can directly make the order through there. And what's going to happen there is that it's going to automatically take the information that the customer is making for their account. It's going to make their account in CRM for you, so you're not even going to have to enter them in there. They're entering it in there themselves. They can come back in here and check on their order statuses and track those orders. But it's also going to go ahead and check what you currently have in stock for it. And it's also going to automatically make that invoice and sales order for whenever they make their payments. Now, we do have APIs with UPS, FedEx, and USPS for shipping, but we also have a transportation module if you have your own trucks or if you use a third-party logistics company for that. And you can go ahead and do partial shipments or even full shipments, same thing on the invoicing side. So once a customer's went ahead and made their order, they can log back in and they can check that delivery status. There is a point of sales section too. Do you do any on-site sales?
No.
Okay, then I will skip through this section for you. From there, I'm heading over to the production and quality side, we do have the ability to do installation qualification, operational qualification, and performance qualification, and that's fully compliant with the FDA and the GMP. So on the production side, we're going to already have defined what your work centers are. We're going to define what your processes are. We're going to create your base bill of materials for you. We'll train you on how to create any more in the future because there's always going to be new items to be created. But on this bill of material, there is a issue method, and that's what it's going to be taking directly from your item master whenever you're choosing the item. And this is where it's going to be looking to decide if this is going to be a manual issue or if this is going to automatically do the issue when your production is complete.
Will this do a full leveling? I'm sorry. Will this do a full leveling of the BOM? Because that's what we're really focused on, is being able to come up with our BOM item numbers and a full leveling of that BOM for all of our components that go into our product.
Yes, it'll definitely be able to handle that for you.
And that'll then create the traceability through all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and you mentioned on all these things that generates a barcode for product for sales. So are we going to have infrared or a bar scanner to be able to do inventory?
You can use that, but it's not required. That's just one of the methods to do inventory.
Manual and barcoding or bar scanning?
Yes.
So,
go ahead.
So just to kind of give you an idea, we're having our certain electronic mechanical component as a system built at an Asian facility, and we're having the rest of it, like insoles and socks and stuff, also built at a different factory, say in Asia. And both of those will come in with their own serial numbers or identification numbers that will then tie directly into this BOM. And then when it arrives here, then we will finish the assembly of, per the SKU, putting that, I'll call it an engine inside that insole, and then packaging it and putting it in for distribution, putting it in inventory for sales. So this system will track that all the way, and you will help us build the bill of materials to fit this system?
Yes.
Okay. That's good. Thank you.
You're welcome. We'll also help you set up your routing, which is just going to be which machines you're going to send it through. So on your side, what steps you're going through for the actual assembling, what processes is being done there. And then we will have your production method, which is the combination of which bill of material, so which items you're using, and then which machines they're going through. So it's a full combination of the two. We've had people who have multiple routing methods for each of their items because they may have multiple machines that can do the same process. Now, from there's a couple ways you can do your material resource planning. We have the interactive planning page, and what this is going to do is it's going to directly give you a list of all your current sales orders, and then you can choose those sales orders, and then once you have the sales orders that you want to go ahead and work on chosen, it will then give you a recommendation on how much of that item needs to be created through a production order. If you have any in stock, you can then directly take it from that stock, or you can directly create that production order. Now, if your production order has some child components that you currently don't have in stock, it will automatically go ahead and make those purchase orders for that item for you based on what your preferred vendor is. If you don't have a preferred vendor set up, you can then choose those items or choose the vendor for it. Now, we also have it where you can do it based on on the item itself, so it'll pull all of your orders, or even based on your forecasting for that item, and then it'll do the same thing for that. Now, over on the procurement side, so you went ahead and we're going to make your order, but you're short on some of your raw materials. So it's going to take you over to the purchasing side, and then from there you'll be able to make your purchase order. So same thing as on the sales side, you'll be able to directly convert it over to the next section through the process. If you have any approval strings that needs to go through, for example, before you can do a purchase order, it needs to be approved by somebody in finance or somebody in management in the inventory section to make sure that you really have the need for this item, that can also be mapped in there. We have the ability to do approval strings on all of our documentation. And then once you have this created, you can then send it over to your suppliers. That can directly email to you that supplier's contact information. And then we also have a supplier portal that you can give them access to. And then from there, they can send back their responses. Now, once that item has been received, you can do your item or goods receipt against it, and then that's where you're going to either be able to add your serial numbers or your batch numbers based on what type of item it is and what you set up in the item master. And then once all of those items is in, and then move that production from a production plan actually over into the full production process. Then from there, it's going to pull your details on what materials is needed, how many of them is needed to make all the items that you're requesting, which machines it needs to go through, when you want it to start, when you want it to end, who it's assigned to. All of that can be done from that side at that point. And then if you're doing a manual item issue, you can go ahead and do your item issue for that. If you're doing a backflush, that item issue is going to be done at the end of your production. And you can also do your item receipts at the end too. So for example, if after you finish that insole and it has a different number than your raw materials or your assembled parts, you can then map that in there. And you can have multiple ones for each item. That way you can see what each of those raw materials were. That way, if for any reason you've got a recall or you've got a defect in the product, you can trace it back, find out what batch or lot it went through, and that way you'll be able to view that along the way too, and be able to do any recalls. You do have the ability to do serial numbers too, so this is just a quick look into creating serial numbers. We also have reporting, so you'll be able to view who was your vendors, when they came in for these items, what batch number it was. So it's just more view into what the item is. And if you ever have any consignment inventory, you have the ability to put in an inventory type too. So you can have your regular inventory, you can have consignment inventory, and there's a few other types of inventory that can be mapped in at that point too. Are you interested at all in the human resources side? Time management, employee database, payroll, time cards, or should I skip through this section for you?
I think we have to have it for later, but not right now.
It's a low priority item at this point. If it's included or a very minimal effect on the cost of things, then we're going to utilize it. But if not, we're so new and stuff that we can accomplish those off books and get that stuff taken care of.
But it can be assimilated at a later time if we don't do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously just going to be a cost-benefit analysis, but we do have to have some HR activities, whether we're going to have it encompassed within the ERP system or elsewhere. That's still out there. So yeah, if you want to just show us a little bit of it, that'd be fine.
Would this be a module that we can add later?
Absolutely. It is its own module. It's going to do your full flow, so you can do everything from your onboarding to your hiring. So let me get back to the beginning of it. So it's going to let you do your payroll, and that's going to go over to finance. Payroll processing can be done either through the HRMS or the finance side. You can also have those employees to be mapped to your production side. There are several other places you can map those employees in though. And then if you're doing any projects, employee tasks can be directly allocated to those too. So on the recruitment side, you'll be able to make your job requisitions, post them to either your job portals or to your website. Then you'll be able to go ahead and have the people apply through those sites. It's going to automatically pull back into the system. And then you'll be able to directly do the screening through there. So it'll take your criteria for screening, send it off to whoever's doing the interviews. They'll then do the interview based on those screening details, and they'll send back their recommendations. If it's a multi-stage thing, they can either recommend them to be moved to the next round or say this person's not fit for the position. And then from there, once you've decided to hire them, you can then move them over to the selected applicant list where you can make their job offer. And then they can go on to the onboarding process where you can get information from them about any extra details you haven't already collected. This can include any certifications that they may have, other things you may not have included, like mailing address, billing address, all that sort of stuff can be collected there. And then it can be directly converted over to the employee master. You'll also be able to then manage those employees. So on the employee master side, they're not going to be able to see, the employees aren't actually able to see the employee master. Employee master is an HR section over only. The employee section has, under the ESS, a smaller section, and that's also where they're going to be able to log in and do their time. We do have integration with biometrics and a few other, like swipe cards, fingerprinting, that sort of stuff. So if that's the way you prefer to do your time. So on the self-service section, as you can see, the employee's got a lot of different things they can do. Benefit enrollments, if it's open enrollment, they can submit their expense requests, they can ask for leave, they can change their password, they can do help desk requests through here. And then the manager is also going to have a lot of things they can do. They can sign off on their pending timesheets, payroll expenses, they can do evaluations, but they can also do their recruitment through here. So they'll be able to make job requisitions and do their screenings through there. And then whenever something is approved for an employee by a manager, both of them is going to get an updated status on that. And they can also get that through an email. So everybody's going to know what status is in. So if somebody did a time card and it was rejected for some reason, the manager is going to know that's rejected, but so is the employee, so they can then correct it. Full import and export through all the fields. There's a training module. You can create your own training, assign that training, have them do it through the system, then view what they've got on the scores on that, because you can make your own questionnaires for it. Performance, there's a lot of different ways you can do performance. We have 360 reviews, client reviews, peer reviews. So that's just a quick overview of HRMS. So any questions for me so far?
No, I don't think so. We're enjoying it so far.
Yeah, looking at all that's right.
Okay, it is a rather large system, but since it is an a la carte, you can just take what you need and you're not going to have to take everything. So if HRMS isn't something for now and you want to look at it later point, that's perfectly fine too. Now, a few things about the architecture that I didn't cover. 3 ways to navigate. First way are these really big icons. Second way are going to be these bars at the top. And then the third way is going to be search-based. So I'm going to head over to my inventory section. As you can see here, by typing item, it's going ahead and filtering all my pages based on what I'm typing. Then I can choose what page I want to see underneath it. So that's the third way to navigate. And then all of the modules will also have your workbench, the admin section where we do our basic setup, the standard reports, and the query designer, which is going to be our custom report builder I showed you the screen of, and then you have your dashboards. And the dashboards are just a visual representation of what data you have in the system. It makes use for yourself, makes use for the management. You can change what layout it's in. So there's a lot of functionality there too.
Is
So
this,
yes?
Is this browser and OS agnostic?
Agnostic.
Can you access it from any browser, on Mac versus Windows? I mean, is there any limitations in the access points?
No. You can access it through Firefox, IE, Safari. I'm currently in Chrome, so it's fully compatible with all of them.
Very cool. Okay, please continue.
Okay, so I was going to go ahead and go into the item master list real quick so you can see a bit more into the item details, because the screen only showed a small bit of that, because it does go ahead and connect you with a lot of the other different modules at the same time. So we went ahead and added in a few items here for you to make it slightly more relevant. So we've got your insole and an arterial device here, so I'm going to go ahead and go into the insole for you. Looks like we didn't actually set up an image for this one. But if we added an image, it would just go ahead and show up in the section here, and I can show you how to add that if that's relevant at this point. As you can see here, it'll keep track of what price list has been mapped to you. If there's a barcode, it'll show that information. If it's a finished good, you can be able to define what type of item it is. And then these are also a configurable field, so if you need it to say something different, this can be changed.
So on that, and where you had an image portion up there, a JPEG or whatever it was that up above, will that transfer over, say, if on a web-based commerce where a patient or a customer keys into the website and they need to look at inventory, will that transfer that image over so that they can see what they're ordering?
Absolutely. So let me add in quick.
I think that's important. Thank you. That's good.
Oh, that's good? I don't need to actually show you one added in?
No. As long as we know it can do that, that's fine.
Okay. So it's also going to pull your pricing information from whatever price list you've set up for it. You'll also be able to view that availability. So under the purchasing tab, that's going to be where you're going to set up who your preferred vendor is and any catalog numbers you may have with it. It'll also keep track of your unit of measure, so you may buy it by the pallet, but you may store it by the box, and you may sell it by the piece. So you'll have your ability to go ahead and map all that in. You'll also have the same thing over on the transportation side. So you may get it in through a shipment on a certain size, but you may then ship it out in a different size. And it'll also keep track of your length, weight, width. That way it's going to automatically calculate that volume for you and that weight for you. That way you'll have a standard volume and weight that you'll be able to go ahead and use whenever you're doing your shipments. Because we do have the APIs with UPS, FedEx, and USPS, and that way it's going to go ahead and pull that information when you're automatically making those shipping labels or any of the other documents, whether it be your ACN or your packing list. Now on the inventory side, you can choose how this is going to affect your general ledger. You'll be able to choose what valuation method you're using. If there is a required inventory for it, it'll keep track of that. If you have a minimum or maximum inventory you want to keep in the warehouse, it'll also let you go ahead and manage that, and whenever you fall below or try to go above that, it's going to let you know. That way you're staying within your range. You can set up what your planning method is. Are you using an MRP method for this? Is this an item that you're making or you're buying? What's your order interval with this? Is there a tolerance time for it? So if it's something you're making, how long is it going to be before you can actually have that ready? Then how much time do you usually have built in for that? That way your salespeople can look at it and say, okay, we're making this info for someone. Production hasn't started yet, so it's going to probably be at least a week before we can actually get that item out to you. You also have your warehouse section, so you'll have the ability to view how much you have in stock in all your warehouses. So you mentioned that you had 2 overseas ones, so let's say you have one in China and one in Korea. You can view the inventory you have in each of those, and then you'll also be able to view what inventory you have in your warehouse in the States. And then this is just a view into the one item itself. We do have a page where you can view the full inventory for all your items, or even at a warehouse or item group level, which I'll show you in a minute.
So is there a way to indicate, for instance, on that, if we have a supplier out of Taiwan, for instance, and they're shipping, say, 10 crates of product, is there a way to show that it's in shipment?
Yes.
So it's not in their warehouse, and we don't have it, but it's somewhere in between here and there?
We do have the ability to do item transfers, and at that point we can go ahead and put that as an in-transit. We've had people who will do a transfer request instead of the actual transfer, and then when the item is received, then it'll move over to the actual transfer. So there's several ways we can handle that for you. We've had people do variants for like different colors and a few slight changes to a product, but we've also had people do it as different SKUs. So you do have some opportunity there to, or flexibility there to set it to which way you want. If you did use variants, what would happen on the variants is you would set your permitted values, and then on the sales order you'd then be able to choose which value of those variants you're going to use for that order. And then we also have a little connection into the accounting side, so it's going to let you directly map your sales and your purchase tax to it. But you can also choose the exact income and expense count you want this to affect your chart of accounts and general ledger and your balance sheet on. And then that attachment tab is going to allow you to go ahead and attach any documentation you need for it. If you need to put item specs in there or material documentation in there, that can be done there. Once you've done your item receipt at your item receipt level, if you're doing a quality check on it at that point, you can go ahead and put your quality results in there with that item receipt. That way it'll continue to move around with that batch and serial number that you've created for that item.
Hey, on the accounting portion, can you go back to the accounting portion? Quick scroll down there.
Absolutely.
Where you have that section that talks about purchase tax or sales tax, will that give you a breakout? Because we're going to be shipping to, for U.S., for instance, 50 states in the U.S., and each of them are going to have different tax codes that we're going to have to pay taxes for because we'll ship. Will there be a way to break that out for those particular individuals?
Yes, that will actually be able to be done on the sales order.
Okay. Okay.
This back in maybe way up here just for a moment is as far as when we make an order from our manufacturers in Asia. That will probably include all the import-export taxes and everything. We're going to be also shipping lithium batteries, which is a whole nother ball game. So does your software have a way to detail that out, or?
Absolutely. So we'll set up all of those different things in the freight section, and that's actually under the inventory or the finance section.
Okay.
But then you'll also have your inbound shipment section where you'll be able to directly add in all of those criteria. So what happens on the inbound shipment, you can either directly add in those criteria, and you can also receive this from the vendor through that supplier portal if you're using that. But you'll also be able to then directly, let's see if I've got one configured here. But as you can see under the freight cost section, it will then let you choose your components, or you'll be able to choose a component group. And a component group, if you know that it's going to be these exact same things, you can map them to a group. So for example, if you've got your Singapore one, and I know I got that wrong again, I apologize, but
that's okay. That's okay. It may be one day. Who knows?
So if you've got one that it's always going to be the same thing, you can make a freight component group. That way it's automatically going to pull those components, and you're not going to have to add in those components when you're doing it each time. And then you'll be able to directly add in those amounts, or if you're getting it from the supplier portal, it'll add those in for you, and this will already be documented for you. And then you'll be able to directly apportion that cost out. That way you'll be able to view the actual cost per item. And this can be done by a cubic foot. It can be done by shipping rate. It's just whatever you have defined in the item master section for that freight component. Or I should say the freight shipping unit of measure.
And the tax information is doing with the export and import, or?
Yes, tax can be both export and import, depending on which document you're looking at. So it can go ahead and be by state, it can be by country, it can be by county. This one looks like it's set up by state for this one. But we have the ability to do it by all.
And we'll have to import fee or whatever the
Right.
Import. Yeah, whatever that. There's going to be probably 4 or 5 different components of that, right?
Yes.
And all of those will have been mapped over in the freight section of finance. So we've got our freight engine, so we've got our freight setup and our freight code, and your freight code is going to be that freight group that I mentioned, and then your freight setup is going to be each of those components, which will be a one-time setup thing, and then you'll be able to go ahead and have that pulled. And as you can see here, it's just going to list out what are those. You got port handling, do you have customs, do you have duties, demurrage, storage costs, regulatory fees, all of those can be mapped in here. And they don't have to be a fixed amount.
This is for both incoming or outgoing.
Correct.
I mean, however you set it up. I mean, right. Okay.
So it can be set for you to be receiving payments for these sections, and it can also be set for you to be making these payments for these sections.
Okay.
Now, I did mention the check availability page where you can view your full availability, so I'm going to head back over to that page real quick. So under the stock management, I'll have my check availability. You have access to this page and a few other modules like procurement and sales. So you do have the ability to go ahead and view it in different ways. You can define it by what warehouse you want to look at. You can choose it by the item group itself. Or if you've got a particular item in particular that you want to see, you can then choose it that way too. From this page, you can also directly click and make either a purchase order, a sales order, or do an item transfer from here. Just as you saw in the item master, it's going to have your total stock, your committed, your ordered, and your available. So total stock, again, is what's in your warehouse. Committed is what's committed for either a sales order or a production order. Ordered is what you've ordered but has not arrived yet from your vendors. And then available is what you currently have in your warehouse minus what you've committed to either a sales order or a production order. So this is the number your sales team is going to be looking at. Now, inventory, you also can do that item issue, item receipt. We've already went a little bit into the item transfer and the inbound shipment. You'll be able to view your past price histories. You'll be able to make your price changes. You'll be able to do your inventory credits and debits. This section can also be done on the finance side if that's more of your workflow in your company. You can create your price list. There are multiple ways to create your price list. These are just some examples of price lists that's been created in the past for demos. So you can do it for particular customers or vendors, particular discount groups. They order a certain amount, then they'll get it that way. And then these can be directly mapped into the customer master to that customer. But we also have an advanced version where you set up criteria of based on location, item group, warehouse, whatever criteria you're looking for. And then we take that criteria and choose a price list for it based on, for example, you have somebody ordering from New York and they're ordering your insoles. Therefore, for this insole in New York, they're automatically getting the New York price list, while you have somebody in California who is ordering the exact same item has a different price list because of location. And that can be automated through the system too. You can also do your pick and pack through here, and then they can do the barcode scanning in for picking those and packing those and scanning those items out. But they can also do it manually if that is your current process. I did mention that we have business partners, but I'll show you that on the actual sales side. So I'm going to go ahead and move over to sales side real quick. So on the sales side, you're going to actually be able to go ahead and make your quotes, your inquiries, all of that can be done on this side. Now that same quotation can also be done on the CRM side. And if you do it on the CRM side, it's going to show up in sales. If you do it on the sales side, it's going to show up in CRM. So on both sides, you'll still be able to see the same data.
So it's parametric.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay.
Now, you'll be able to directly make your sales quotes. I don't think I actually have any images in here, but you do have the ability to directly pull images for your quotes. You'll be able to directly preview your quotes from the system, and then you'll be able to directly email those quotes to your customers and your other people that you've put that quote to. So, for example, here we have a quote going off to Responsive Industries for the mesquite chili pepper. So they went ahead and chose the item spec. So that was pulling directly from your item master. There was at the very bottom of the general section, there was a place where you could put in remarks, that's where that's going to pull from. So if you got any specifics about the item that you want to include in the quote, you can put it there. And then if you had an image in the item, you can directly pull it from there too. Now you also have two other boxes that you can add in here. You've got your general terms and conditions and your special terms and conditions. And you can directly check mark and have those pull to your quote also. If you have any particular shipping vendors you're using, you can go ahead and map those in. It's going to pull that shipping address directly from your customer master for you. That way you're already going to have that. If you're using the UPS, FedEx, USPS, or if you got tracking through your third-party vendor or your own truck, then you can track that also in the sell side too. And you can directly generate those labels. You can also add in your freight components here too. So you can give them a quote on what the shipping is going to be. Now I don't know if I've got any images in this one. I don't think I do. But what it's going to do is it's going to go ahead and pull your images. It's also going to go ahead and pull your details about it. And we do have different formats here. So if I had the images, it would pull them up here. And you do have several different formats you can use for this. And this is just one of the general ones. And apparently I did not have the images for this one. And then you'll be able to directly send the quote through the system. And then once you've got that quote accepted, you can then convert it directly over to your order. So let me head over to the order section. So once you've converted it over to order, you'll still have the ability to convert it to the next few steps, which is your invoicing, your delivery. You can have that done at the same time, or you can have one done before the other. If you are doing anything through EDI, you can also send confirmations through the system. Now, as you can see here, you can go ahead and do a partial delivery or a full delivery, and that's going to go ahead and move either, if you're doing the partial delivery, you'll check mark the line items and then you can directly move that over to the delivery side. That way you can do your partial delivery and then you can do a partial invoice against that partial delivery. That way you don't have to invoice them for all the items that they haven't received yet.
I have a question regarding the order. Say, for instance, and see if there's capabilities there. You place an order, the order goes out to the customer, you have all this information updated from the item, the address, account, shipping, freight cost, all that, tax information. Then the patient or the customer has a problem with the product and has to be returned, whether it's a return for dissatisfaction or a return for a product problem. Is there a way that we can catalog that, capture that information and tie it to the original information so that we can track that?
Yes, you'll have the customer return documentation, but I don't have a customer return set up in the sell side. I have a vendor return set up, though, I believe, in the purchase side. But it would be the exact same thing. You would go ahead and get the item in. You'd be able to search based on what that item was, where the item came from, and then you'll be able to get that serial number or batch number, whatever it was located to. And then you'll also be able to assign somebody to do any quality checks you need to do on it. You'll also be able to do a full refund for that item if that person is requesting one. If they're not requesting a refund and they're requesting a replacement item, that can also be one of your options there too.
Okay, is there a way we can link that to, say, for instance, we have to do an FDA occurrence report, or, you know, something along those lines, that we have a way to have those interact, the sales order, the FDA, the, you know, the return, all those things that they can integrate. You have that capability. I know I saw something about FDA and some other things earlier, and I just want to know if all these can integrate with the sales report.
Yes, definitely. It's fully integrated across the board.
Okay.
And then once you have your sales order, and you can then convert it over to either your delivery or your billing side. So if we go over to our delivery side, from there you'll be able to directly generate your packing slips, any other documentation you need, your bill of lading. I think the packing slip is the only one I actually have set up here to show today, but as you can see here, you can also print your shipping labels and other documentation along the way too. And we have a full document designer here, so we've had people who want a completely different packing list for every single one of their customers, which is definitely something that can be done too, because every one of them is going to call the item something different. They're going to want different information on it. One of them may want their bill to address, one of them may want their ship to address, one of them may want both. So you have some flexibility on this side too. Now I know it's 4 o'clock and that's how long we scheduled for this. Do you guys still have some extra time, or do we need to wrap up real quick?
I'm okay. I'm okay. What about you guys?
Well, I've got a 2:30.
Okay.
But
Well,
I would say if you want to touch on some other large modules or something like that, I think we've got a good high-level overview of what you've got going. And I'm sorry.
We can also set up another time to accommodate everybody too.
Okay. We do. Drew has a question over here.
Yeah, so I'm responsible for getting a website up that can sell this stuff, which is primarily how we're going to be selling all of our products. In fact, exclusively coming out of the chute, it will be e-commerce site selling the product. So what I'm trying to do is I have to balance. I've got to put a site up that's got content, and then there's the shopping cart side of it. We do not have a complicated catalog of products. We have one product that has just some variants to it. And I want to know, would we be able to plug in this? Do you have the capability of we just plug in an e-commerce piece of yours, or do we use some type of API calls to hook into this back-end system?
The majority of our customers just goes ahead and use ours, and then we just mask the website so whenever they click on your customer portal section, it takes them to a masked version of our customer portal, and then that's automatically going to already have your shopping cart for them. They'll be able to do their account details, so it's already hooked into the system for you. We do have some people who do it through API also.
How much flexibility do we have in changing the look and feel of that?
We've got several different formats for that, but that'll all be taken during the requirement section, so you have a lot of ability to say what you want in there. So the way we do our process is we do this quick overview demo like we were doing today, and then from there, if it's something that you're still interested in, we then move on to taking a bit more of your requirements, and then we go ahead and do a more configured sort of demo for it, because it is a fully configurable system.
I guess probably the question he's looking at is, are we able to customize the look and feel of your portal so it looks and feels like it's part of our website?
Yes, it will definitely take the full look of your website. I would have to check with the tech team on how much of that you can do yourself and how much of that we'll have to do on our side, though, which I think is your real question there.
Okay.
We just don't want there to be you have a real slick website and then you click over to do the purchase and they don't seem to be related.
Right.
So
yeah, it doesn't have to be 100% look and feel, but I mean,
Pretty close.
pretty close, so that they
as close as possible.
We're not going to compromise on the look and feel of it for the back end.
Yeah.
Okay.
Rebecca, I've got a question for you. This is Chuck. I'm the IT nerd. I see in your browser here that you're accessing this via an IP address. It does not look like a local IP address. I know that you guys do on-site as well as the hosted, where you're going to, and obviously that's what we're looking at, is the hosted over the internet. Are you currently accessing this Are you in an office that your database server is on the same local network, or are you accessing this from a remote office?
I'm accessing this from a remote office. So what we do for our cloud versions, we actually have our hosting done through Rackspace and Amazon, and they've got locations in New York, Chicago, Dallas, and Seattle that we use. And that way, for if any reason one of them's down, it's still going to be up in all the other locations. And that's to minimize any ever downtime.
So I'm looking at just kind of the speed at which you're accessing pages and moving between things, and it's got a nice, smooth movement to it. And I've seen demos before where people are pulling it off of a local database, and then obviously you put it over the internet and you're accessing it, and it's way slower. So if I guess you're accessing it as we would be accessing it. We should be seeing
that kind of speed.
That kind of speed. I mean, obviously, when you're processing something, that takes time. But switching between pages and whatnot, we want a pretty smooth application that we're going to be living in. So I guess what we're seeing right now, would you say that's what we would see and experience? I mean, obviously, given the internet and all that kind of stuff.
I'm on wireless, so it might actually be a little faster. Wireless tends to slow it down a little bit.
Okay. Okay, cool. That's good.
Any other questions?
Sales, CRM side of things, document management, literature for sales teams and sales portals, that's available, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So the CRM side is going to be divided on ours, but you're still going to be able to access information from there. So on the sales side, you've also got your customer list and your account, so you'll be able to view that information. And then the quotes are also going to be something that's going to be on both modules. But if you're looking to add in a lead, at that point it's still CRM only. Now, you're doing your mass mailing to send out that literature. That's going to be accessible through several of the modules.
Okay.
Do you have any, on the manufacturing side, do you have any module that is for quality?
That's a small portion of our production module, and that's going to go ahead and do all your quality setting up there. So you'll set up what your templates you want your people to follow, and then you'll be able to actually make those documents, and then those documents can be directly attached to those item receipts and item issues for when you're taking those items out to actually do those quality checks on those. That way you're actually having it connected with each of them. Even if you're just doing a sampling of the items for doing your quality checks, you can still connect it that way too. We've had people do it for sampling of items. We've had people do it for checking every single item that comes in. So you have some flexibility there too.
If you click on production, can you kind of show me what you're talking about there a little bit?
I don't actually have any section configured there, but I can show you where you would find the actual templates and set up what your stability categories are and all of that.
Okay.
Okay, so it's got some
QC item template, stability category, stability. Is this something that I can access offline, off this, you know, on my own by your website, just so I can look at these templates and stuff in a little more detail and this whole quality control planning?
I think there's a little bit about quality control on the website, but not much. Mainly that module section mainly talks a lot more about the production side.
Let me interject real quick. What we're looking at these demos that we're doing this week and beginning next week are kind of top level stuff. And
yeah, then we'll drill down when we need to.
Yeah,
but I mean, the good news, they have something here.
Yeah,
they have
exactly.
a tab for quality control, so we can dive deep later.
Right, exactly. We want to we'll go deep after we get to top level view and get pricing analysis and just kind of pick some finalists and then really start getting
Fantastic. Okay, thank you.
So any
Okay,
more
Rebecca.
questions?
No, I don't think so. Do you have any other modules that you want to show us? You want to go over some stuff? I know that we are I've got another meeting here in about 20 minutes. So.
I think the majority of these have hit at least a little bit in the PowerPoint, which I did at the beginning. So I was just going to hand it back to Jason to talk about next steps, whether it be setting up another call to go into more detail in these sections, or to focus on another call to take care of the sections that we didn't really get to cover much today.
I think I'm pretty good on the top level view right now. I would say for Jason, are you still on the call?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I'm in the airport. But you know, this tends to be a process, you know, where we'll kind of take, like you said, a high level look, kind of dig deeper, kind of as we move along. The only thing that kind of I guess I just consider your timeline as it stands now, is thinking that we're more than happy to accelerate this as much as you need us to. So we'd be glad to kind of do whatever needs to be done, as far as things go with you guys, sort of next step. So really just let me know. I mean, obviously at some point in time we would need to help you understand our pricing structure, things of that nature. So I'd love to follow up maybe first part of the next week just to say, or see kind of where things stand and which you might want to have a conversation about next.
Yeah, I think we like what we see here. And like I said, we're demoing a few others, so we're making that comparison from the high level. But if you want to throw together some I know we chatted a little bit. I'm just going to general pricing and stuff like that. But if you want to get into some quote areas, then we can start putting that into our mix of the analysis, and then if we do put you on the final list, then we'll really get technical on the whole quality controls and
Perfect.
Feel, all that kind of stuff. But right now, yeah, high level, I think you guys have passed, and so I want to see pricing. So if you want to put something together for early next week, that'd be great.
Sounds great. Well, I'll be in touch then. I appreciate it.
One last question. Is there any way that you could send us by email or something a copy of your PowerPoint presentation that I could review real quick? That'd be great.
I'll get that over.
Yeah, and doesn't go to meeting. There's another person that couldn't sit in on this. This session is being recorded, right?
Yes. You want us to send you the recording?
Yeah. Can we get a copy of that so I can send it over
Yeah,
to?
I'll get that formatted and sent over to you as well.
Okay. Perfect.
Perfect. Excellent. Well, gentlemen, we appreciate it, and we will we'll talk very soon.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Have a good travel today, Jason.
Thank you. I appreciate it. All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks. Bye-bye. Thanks, Rebecca.